All right, I thought I'd just chat with you for a minute about the changes that I've made. The very first time I drew up this quilt, this is the first time I've ever designed my own quilt. This was blank, and I forgot to ignore these lines right here and extend that out to here. So instead, I put in the pink sashing, which turned out wonderfully. I love it that way. Also, I realized I had 9 patch blocks, and I had planned for an 8-inch block, and the math wasn't going to work that well for that. So I had to change a few of the blocks. Well, then later I was thinking, I wonder if I have other blocks that are not good for I wonder if I had other blocks that were good for 8-inch and not 9-inch. So I changed those all out. This is one of them, because you can see it would be 2, 4, 6, 8. And dividing 8 by 3 is not fun. I don't want to do those kind of measurements or that kind of math. This one was hard enough. And so I went from this to this. I've changed my blocks. They're all 9 patches. I got rid of this sashing border because with this here, it just seemed kind of redundant. So that has been deleted. Some new blocks have replaced some of the old blocks. What else? So far, that's all I've come up with. These blocks in this row are 6-inch. These are 9-inch. These will also be 6 inches wide, I believe. And I am still thinking about this border here, because the applique is not going to be spreading out over it, so I don't know if I need it. So I'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So those are the changes so far. There might be more changes. The colors obviously might change. I do want to cut out these blocks because I want those all green. And so I want to make sure I have enough for those. And then I can use the scraps for anything in here. But I want to make sure I have enough green for these. So I'll probably cut these out next and set them aside, and then get to work on these 2 blocks. So that is where we are at right now. So I just don't want you to think that people make up a design and never have any problems. Or, well, at least not in my case. But nothing has been, unfixable. There's been easy solutions, and I've caught a lot of them in time. So, and usually when you redo things, they turn out better the second time or the third time. So don't worry about, mistakes or having to redo something, because you usually end up doing a better job the second time. So lots of lessons learned. I don't really consider them mistakes. I think of them as teaching moments, because I have learned a lot, and that was the whole purpose of doing this, was to learn. So let me get these cut out, and then I will cut these out and get to work on those. I got to thinking while ironing out these fabrics for the blocks that I should probably pre-cut the what I need for the applique and the flying geese to make sure I have what I need, and then just make the blocks out of the leftovers. So I'm going to hold off on cutting for these 2 blocks And then I will need 4 for the 6 blocks here, and that will be 36. So I'm going to cut out the flying geese, then I'm going to cut out the applique, and then I will get the blocks cut out. So if you remember, for the applique, I already have these cut out, the pieces cut out. I just need to figure out my pieces of fabric that I'm going to use, iron them on, get them cut out, and place them on my background paper. I do need to get the background cut out. So, but I've got a border here that I'm going to do, and I will just do it twice and then just flip it around, one for the top and one for the bottom. So let me get those all taken care of. All right, I decided as long as I was cutting out, I wanted to do the flying geese as well to make sure I had enough purple, because I do want this line to be all purple, yellow, blue, and pink. So I wanted to get those cut out, and I did. I got them cut out, and I've got my lines drawn on there for my sewing marks with the friction pin that comes out with the iron. So I've got all of those cut out, and my squares, I'll be doing the fast flying geese method. And then I kind of got carried away and I cut out the blocks for this, and I forgot to record. So I already have the blocks for this cut out. So now I'm going to cut out the blocks for this, and then we'll put the 2 blocks together. Okay, I don't have a whole lot of green left, which is why I cut those other ones out. I wanted to make sure I had some green. So I'm going to use purple and yellow for this block, and I am going to need one 3.5 inch yellow, 4 3.5 inch background, and then I'm going to do 4 4.5 inch for the hourglass of the purple and the background, and we'll turn those into hourglass units. So cut out the yellow one first. I need 4 3.5, and I'm going to go ahead and cut a strip because I'll probably need a 3.5 inch background again. Okay, so now I need the 4.5 of both the background and the purple. And let me iron this. I'll be right back. Okay, we have our 4 purples and our 4 backgrounds. So now we have all the pieces cut out. Okay, I've got my marking ruler and my friction pin, and I am going to put the center line from point to point and draw. That is 1/4 inch from the center. You can just draw a center line and sew on the 1/4 inch. What we're going to do is we're going to take these, put right sides together, okay, sew on the lines, then we're going to cut, press them open, and I will have 2 half square triangles. Then I will take those 2, flip them so that there's color on one side and color on the other, and we'll do the same thing again, and I will show you that when we get to that point. But I'm going to finish marking these and then we'll get to the sewing machine. Okay, I've got my pieces right sides together. Now I just need to sew on the line. Okay, now I need to cut down the middle and then press those open, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got them pressed open and I've marked my marking lines just like I did before. So we're going to sew on those lines, and then when we're done, we will have an hourglass unit. So you want to make sure you nest your seams. So when I pressed them, I pressed towards the purple so they're all opposite each other so they can be nested. This one's going this way and this one's going this way. So we'll just lock them right up next to each other. Okay, now we'll do the same as before. We'll cut in between the marked sewing lines and then press open, and then we'll trim. Okay, I've got these pressed open, and now we need to trim. We want 3.5 inches We've got a line going through this diagonal and one going through this diagonal. Turn it. Now you line up with the 3.5 inch and both diagonals. And that will give you the perfectly sized square unit with the X in the middle and the seams in the corners. And now I will just continue with these ones and I'll get back to you. Okay, turns out I only needed to cut 2 of the 4.5 inch squares of the purple and the white, because that each square gave me 2 hourglass units, and I was thinking it was only going to give me 1. So if you're cutting it out, you only need 2, and then you can make your hourglass units. So let's put our block together. I'll put this in the middle, and then we've got these on the ends. Now we can do it this way, or we can do it this way. I think I'm going to do it this way. So now we're just going to flip that over, sew, open, press, and we'll do that all down the line. Then we'll add these the same way. Then we're going to take this row, flip it, nesting the seams, and then sew, flip it, do this one, nest the seams, sew, flip it back over, and press. So let's get started on that. Okay, I got to watching some of the video that I did for these 2 blocks, and it did not turn out. Everything was really bright. A lot of times things look fine in the viewfinder for the camera, but then when I put it in the computer, it's a lot brighter, and so these fabrics didn't even show up. It was just a bunch of white blocks. So I've already shown you how to do hourglasses, the hourglass unit, but I'm going to show you how to do the V block. These are the same blocks, but in the V part we have the colored fabric, and here we have the light fabric, and here the triangles are light, and on this one we have the colored fabric. So it's just reversed, and so you can see that how just changing the fabrics makes a different block. So I won't be showing you how to make these 2 blocks, but I will show you how to make this V block unit. And I'm going to be using Debbie Tucker's V block trimmer. There's a line here to put the edge of your material. It's cut line for side triangles, and then we want a 3-inch finished unit, so we want to cut 4-inch strips, and you want those strips to be either right sides together or wrong sides together, because you need a mirror image. So here is my 4-inch strip. I've got wrong sides together, and I am just going to line that cut line along here, and that comes down to this 3-inch finished unit. That does not mean this is 3 inches. Just it means that this measurement is for a 3-inch finished unit. Okay, and that will give me a mirror set. Now if I was going to cut more, then what I would do, is just turn this over, and then you've got this extended line here. You're going to put the bottom of this ruler at the bottom of your fabric, line that right up, and see that also comes to your 3, and then you will have your next pair of mirrored triangle units. Okay, All right, for the V part, this part right here, you've got a fold line for the center triangles. And for your first cut, that's where you're going to put your fabric. You're going to take it and you're going to fold over just enough to cover, to go past the ruler. And there's your V block. Now for your next one, you don't do any folding, you just flip it over. And this line right here, the center triangle trim line, you just line that up here and here. Whoops. And press that again. You flip and do the same thing again. So, then what you're going to do, first you're going to make sure you have these the right direction. You don't want to accidentally put them like this. So, lay them out, make sure it actually makes a square, and then, of course, you're going to fold it over. And you're going to sew from point to point, press it open, fold this one over, sew point to point, and press it open. So I'm going to get to the sewing machine and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've got it sewn and pressed, and now I'm going to trim. And I'm going to line it up here, and you'll notice that here, this shows that you still have your 1/4 inch seam line. So you will preserve all your points. Just line the 3. There's only one line that goes all the way down. So you're going to line that up to here. We've got a 3-inch finished unit, so that's going to go there. Line these up, and you'll see you still have, that gets trimmed off. This here will still be a 1/4 inch. And this will still be a 1/4 inch, so you still have your seam lines to preserve your points. Okay, and then you've got your 3.5 inch lines here, and the X that goes through the point there. And then you end up with a very pretty 3.5 inch V block unit. They can go this way, or this way, this way, or this way. And like I said, you could switch the fabrics and it'll make a different looking block. Okay, for this block here, I'm going to do the fast flying geese method. I believe I only need 4 of these. 1 4.5 inch white and 4 2.5 inch green, and then I've marked those. And the blues, I have 4 2 by 3.5 inch, and that will make this unit right here. Then I've got 4-inch yellows cut diagonally, 2 of them, so I have 4 pieces. I have 4 2-inch pink squares, and then I have 4 2.5 inch background squares cut diagonally. So we're going to start with the flying geese. This is the fast flying geese method. I will show you how to do this, and then I am going to go ahead and make these flying geese off camera, since it's the exact same process as this. So let's get to the sewing machine. Okay, I'm going to take 2 of my squares, and I'm going to put it so there's just a couple threads on each side. Do the same here. And then I'm going to sew on the sew line. Okay, now I'm going to cut in between here, and then I'm going to press these open. And I'll be right back. Okay, now I'm going to take each of these, and I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. Okay, now I will separate, cut there, and then I will end up with 4 flying geese units. So let's get this cut, pressed, and then we'll trim them. Okay, it's cut, pressed, and now we're going to trim. I'm going to use my wing clipper, and I'm going to lay the guidelines in there so it fits right in. I need to make sure that my fabric does not come too far in, that it at least reaches the line or extends it, and then trim. Turn it over. And I have a 2 by 3.5, which will make a 1.5 by 3 inch flying geese. So pretty. Not so pretty. Let's get this trimmed. Okay, there we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we are going to sew them to the long white part. So we're just going to fold it over, sew, turn it over, and press, and that will be our unit. So let me get that sewn and I'll be right back. Okay, these are sewn and pressed to the blue, so those units are done. Now we'll need to work on these ones. We'll have the pink squares, and I'm going to put this on here so that when I go to the sewing machine, because I always get confused with the triangles. So I know I want the 90-degree corner to go along one edge. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, which means I want this 90-degree corner angle to go on this edge. 2, 3, 4, and I don't want to get them confused or go like that. So this way you have a half square triangle, and that's what we're trying to make. And then when we're done with that, we'll put this on, sew it against there, open it up. So I'm going to take one of these triangles, so I'm going to line it up corner to corner here. Open it up, press, line this up along the edge here, sew it on, open it up, press, And then I will put this one on. Okay. Just flip it over. And sew, and I'm going to chain piece these. Okay, now I'm going to press these open. All right, so now I'm going to take these ones, now that they're pressed open, and lay them, match these corners up, and sew. You want that overlap there because that's your seam allowance. Okay, now I'm going to press them open. Okay, they're pressed open. It makes a half square triangle. So we're going to put right sides together. Whoop, just one. And when we sew, we want to sew with this side up so that we can see this intersection, because we want to go over that point. And this is a little bigger than I need. It might make it easier to trim this down so that that's a 1/4 inch, so that you know where to sew, but I'm being too lazy to get up. Okay, let's open these up. Okay, we've got the unit sewn together and pressed open. Now we just need to trim, and these are pretty darn close. Pretty much just need to cut off the dog ears. Okay, now that we have those units done, we can start putting our block together. There's the middle, and then the pink goes to the outside corner. The yellow goes towards the center, and the flying geese goes towards the center, which would be the green one. Okay, and there we have our units for our block. Now I'm just going to put this block together the same way you've seen me do it many times, and I will get back to you when it's done. Okay, it is sewn together and pressed, and here is our block. Okay, next we're going to do this. I'm going to do the fast flying geese method off camera because I've just shown you how to do it. And you've seen me do a straight, the rest of it is just straight seams, putting the things together. So I'm going to put this one together off camera, but it, this has two, where's my, two 4.5 inch background squares. And that makes 4 flying geese, so that's why I need two. One makes 4 flying geese, so that's why I need 2. I need 16 2.5 inch red squares. I need 4 2 by 3.5 inch strips and 4 2 by 3.5 inch strips. I'll just sew those together and it will make a unit. And then of course we have our 3.5 inch center square. So I will put that together and get back to you. Okay, I've got my flying geese done and trimmed. Now I just need to put them together. I'll fold it over and I will sew right across the intersection of the seam. Press them open towards the bottom one, and then I will have my 3.5 inch unit. And then we can put the block together. Okay, now that I've got those units put together, I'm going to put one there, and it's going to be kind of like a pinwheel. They're going to rotate, the points are going to rotate in a circle like that. So those will go like that. And the blue goes towards the center. And just a minute. Yep, I think I'm going to like the yellow better. So I'm going to switch this out. Cut me a 3.5 inch square and use that for the center. Okay. Okay, so it will look like that. So I will get that sewn together like all the other blocks, and I will be back. Okay, this block is finished. I pressed the middle row. All these seams go to the outside, and these go to the outside. These go this way. Instead of having it pressed towards the blue like I did before, I turned it over so that these could nest, these two could nest. And then I pressed the middle row towards the center. So it's kind of the opposite of what I've done before. But because there's a lot of seams here and only the straight seams here, it was easier to press towards the straight seams where there's not much going on. So that block is done. And I believe the only block left is this one. And we've gone over the hourglass, but I think I'll do that again because of the different fabrics in it. And then the square squared will go over. So let's get that started. Okay, I'm going to be using the square squared ruler by Debbie Tucker. And if you'll notice right here, center square for a 3-inch finished block. So I cut my squares according to that dimension. So I've got 4 of those. I've got 4 2 3/4 background, and those will be my squared units. I've got a pink for the middle. And then for the hourglass, I've got one, let's see, what size was it? These are 4 1/4. So I've got one 4 1/4, and I'm going to cut that diagonally, and that will give me 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to cut one yellow, both directions diagonally, and that will give me 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. And I think I need one more blue, so that I have, I need 8 triangles. So let me get the other blue cut, and then I will cut these diagonally and we'll start putting it together. Okay, so I'm going to have, the hourglasses are going to go like this. Okay, I will sew these two together, open them up, flip them over, and sew those together, making sure I nest the seams in the middle. So I will do that and be right back. Okay, I've got those put together, and if I was going to do this again, I think I would use 4 1/2 inch squares and not 4 1/4, because these just barely fit. You're just cutting off the dog ears. And I like having a little bit of something to trim. So let me get these trimmed and then we'll get started on the squared. Okay, I've got these that are going to be our triangles. I'm going to stack them up here. And then I am going to cut from corner to corner. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to sew down here, flip it over, down here, flip it over, and then we press. And we have to press before we put on the next ones that we'll put here and here, because part of these corners are going to go over this fabric, so they need to be pressed before you do it. So let me get the first two on, and then I will press it and I will get back to you. Okay, I've got those sides put on, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. Center these. I'm going to sew from the back so that I can kind of see, you know, how much is on each end. And after I got that one put on, I'll put this one on, center it, sew, and when I press them open, I will have my square in a square, or a diamond in a square. It's called both things. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, we're going to lay down our pink center block, and then our hourglass blocks with the yellow towards the pink. This also would have looked good with the same color in here. And our diamonds in a square in the corners. And that is how our block is going to look. Now I'll get that sewn together and I will be right back. Okay, there's the block all sewn together and pressed. Now the next thing to do is these churn dash units. These are just 4 half square triangle units and solid squares. Okay, I'm sure some of you have noticed when I put this block together that 2 of these were facing the wrong direction. They should be going in a circle. The points should all be going in. Doesn't matter whether they go this way or this way, just as long as they're going in a circle, and mine were not. So I had to took out 2 corners and fixed them, and I put them back together. So that one is fixed. And let's see, also, when I designed this, I had purple, yellow, blue, and pink. And if you'll remember earlier, I mentioned that I cut out all the fabrics for those because I wanted to make sure I had enough. Well, I didn't have enough purple, but I did have enough green. So when I made these blocks here, I put them in green. Well, then I realized I'd spent so much time making 9-inch blocks that I made another 9-inch block. These are 6-inch blocks. So I made 6-inch blocks. Well, then I got to thinking, well, if that one's green, that's just too much green. So I'm going to exchange these, and I'm going to make purple blocks for the corners to help balance it out, so there's this whole thing right here isn't green. So we're going to go over how to make this. So far I've been skipping the cutting and the sewing because I didn't want to make, was it 8 or 9 blocks with 75 to 80% of it showing you how to do the same thing over again. I showed you in the first block, but I'm going to go over it again with this block. And these are 6-inch blocks, so these will all be 2.5-inch squares. I'm going to cut the half square triangles, 2 background and 2 colored, at 3 3/4 inch squares. The list online says that you can do 2 half square triangles. I can cut it out at 3.5, but I want that 1/4 inch extra in case I don't sew real well. So instead of 3.5-inch squares for here, I'm going to cut 3 3/4 inch squares. Then I'm going to do the marking. Then I will cut and press them open, and I will have 4 half square triangles. So let me get to cutting. Okay, I need 2 3 3/4 squares of background. And the half square triangles are going to be this color. And I'll be right back. I'm going to iron this. Okay, and I want 2 3 3/4 squares of this material. This is going to be part of the half square triangle, so these corner blocks. So then I will have to mark with the lines down here. I will sew on these lines, cut in between, press open, and then I will have 2 half square triangles. And just put the fabrics right sides together. And I got to thinking, this video hasn't been put together yet, the pieces, but I'm thinking it's going to seem choppy or rushed, and I'm sorry about that. I didn't think you wanted to see me sew things that you've already seen me sew. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. So I will sew here, cut, and press open. So there's my corners. And I need 1 2.5-inch square. Oops. For the middle. And I need 4 2.5-inch squares. I think I will. Just get my ruler. Cut a 2.5-inch strip. Square that up. There's 2. And 4. Okay, so now I've got all my pieces. I will have the 4 ends, or 4 middles, the center, and I'll end up with the 4 corners. So let's get to the sewing machine. Okay, I've got them pressed open, and we want 2.5-inch squares. So yeah, I've got plenty. I could have kept these blocks at 3.5-inch instead of 3.25. The squares, I mean, not the blocks. Okay, when you lay out, you want the white part of the half square triangle towards the middle, so that it'll look like this. Okay, so now for these, we're going to flip over, we're going to sew them. They'll be right sides together. Then we'll put these ones right sides together after we press that open or open it up. We'll put these ones right sides together, flip it open. Then we will press towards these blocks. Or, well, these 2 rows will be pressed towards the middle. And this row will be pressed towards the outside. So it's kind of the opposite of what we've done before. And then we will take and do the rows the same way. We will flip that over, pin our intersection so that the points stay, and sew, open them up, and press. This will make a triangle, sort of, so that's the direction that goes. Okay, I'll get these pressed open and then we'll sew the rows together. All right, let's get these pinned together. They're sewn. Their seams are pressed opposite directions so that they can nest, which means they will butt up right next to each other, kind of lock, sort of. And you can feel it. And then I always like to do the end corner because the ends like to move. We can open this up, pin the other side, make sure it's the right direction. I have sewn rows in the wrong direction before. Okay, and I've got my churn dash block. Now I need to make 3 more and I'll get back to you. Okay, I've got the churn dash blocks done, and for the next video we're going to attach these blocks to the center square. We're going to attach the churn dash blocks to the borders, and we're going to make these applique borders and hopefully get them attached as well. I'd like to just add the other 2 borders as well, and then we would have the top done. So I'm going to try and finish the top in the next video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.